New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello and welcome to Global Focus Today. Oh, I've been waiting so long to say that. Global Focus Today. I'm Sherry Johnson, Reverend Sherry Johnson, and I am your host for Global Focus Today. And what we are is an interview program learning about focus ministry. Those are ministers who are outside of the brick and mortar tradition. And our premier guest today is Reverend Jim Starke. I'm going to give you a little bio. All right, I'm going to give you a big bio. But it's really interesting, and that's why. Jim Starke has been, or take a breath, a banker, a carpenter, a hot sauce manufacturer, a web designer, and internet entrepreneur. He found Science of Mind in 2001 when his then wife, Diana, dragged him from his quiet Sunday morning contemplation to the RSI Center in St. Augustine, and he has realized that there were others that believed as he did. About the same time, it became apparent to Jim that it was time to sell his hot sauce company. So he moved to Puerto Rico and the travel information site for the Caribbean islands of, oh my goodness, Vieques and Culebra. That was close, I hope, which had become his focus. And it was ready to step out on its own. So he released his hot sauce company to one of his distributors and concentrated on his fun project for the last 7 years. He became a CIW certified internet webmaster, honed his graphic design skills, and moved into the virtual world. His ICSL Focus Ministry, which began in 2009, was Spirit on the Road, a mobile outreach ministry based in an RV moving around the East Coast, and it has morphed into a spiritual ministry with real-world overtones. He has also teamed with Reverend Gloria Diamond Conley and Reverend Nicole Murgis in their similar but different UCSL Focus Ministry, AHA Education, doing Sunday evening dialogues, teaching classes, and internet stuff. He worked with the new CSL organization during the integration transition and was the first lead for the Focus Ministry Leadership Group and a member of the first CSL Affiliation Review Committee during the first 5 years of the new organization. He began Spirit Education Focus Ministry with CSL in the fall of 2014. For the past 8 years, he has brought many new and older teachers back to the realization that their knowledge filled an important niche in the organization. Since 2019 and the COVID versus beginning, he introduced many of our teachers to technology classes and how and where to teach and have a presence online. He has 4 practitioners working alongside in Spirit Education, including Reverend Mary Altalo, an apostolic Catholic priest and CSL practitioner who is presently renovating a 100-year-old Methodist church in Union Bridge, Maryland. Talk about variety. And here's a quote. I spend too much time at my desk researching, offering tech support, writing many tutorials, and helping others with their websites and tech questions, and speaking out, and not enough in nature. Help me welcome Reverend Jim Starke, my friend. Thank you, Jim, for joining us. I am, you have to unmute so you can talk to me, us. Because I'm going to ask you some questions and we want to hear the answers. There you go. You're here now.
Sorry, my mouse disappeared.
So the first question I want to know is, what drew you to Focus Ministry? How'd you get here?
When I started ministerial studies, I was with ICSL, the International Center for Spiritual Living, the one of the two prior organizations of CSL, and I knew from the very beginning when I started ministerial training that that's exactly what I wanted to do. There was never a doubt in my mind what I was going to choose for ministry. I knew I wanted to do education, but I also wanted to, my first focus ministry, Spirit on the Road, my intention was to help start study groups around the country. Being in the South where everybody is from away, there's so many snowbirds in the South that I figured speak in different centers around the country and around the Southeast and try and find somebody who's heading north and wants to bring Science of Mind with them and know how to teach it. So that's what I did. And I helped start a study group in Virginia and another one in Poughkeepsie, New York. And the person who started the study group in Poughkeepsie went on to become a practitioner with CSL.
So you're the Johnny Appleseed of CSL.
That's what Michael Beckett said at the Chicago Convention.
So I'm in good company. So who does your ministry serve and how do you reach them?
My present ministry serves anyone that's listening or that's in social media. I broadcast to, about 30 Facebook groups, as well as Twitter. I've got 2 Twitter feeds and Instagram feed and a Pinterest feed and LinkedIn, and I broadcast all of those. I have a mailing list that I broadcast to, as made up of students that have inquired about spirit education and others that have joined my MailChimp newsletter. So anybody that drops by my site can sign up and they get put on my mailing list.
So you do formal classes and you do individual, what do I want to call them? Meditations and trainings and stuff that are for clergy as well as for individuals who are interested in spiritual learning.
Yeah, before COVID, most of our classes were non-certificated courses. We didn't teach any. I went in here not expecting to teach certificated courses, but to and technically compete with any center, because I see focus ministries as supporting centers. Supporting the center's work, and their work is to teach certificated classes and make practitioners and ministers and just uplift the general public. Mine is to offer. We've offered lots of different courses on Rumi and the Kabbalah and just different consciousness courses that were mostly made up by the teachers themselves. Duchess Dale taught with me, Reverend Dr. Joanne Lanning, many, quite a few teachers. I can go through a list, but we don't necessarily need to. But and then about 3 years ago, my practitioners decided they wanted to start teaching certificated classes. So they have two of my practitioners have a spiritual living circle in West Virginia, and they've taught certificated classes now for about 3 years, and a few of their students are from the study group that started up in Charlottesville, Virginia. So
Cool.
yeah, it was very cool. It's very cool.
So, gee, I don't know which of these questions to ask first. So I'll say, how can folks contact you in your ministry, and how can they support you in your ministry?
Well, I have a website, www.spirit-edu.com. They can contact me that way. They can contact me by email. The easiest email is heyrevjim@gmail.com. And my Facebook page, which is kind of complicated, but my Facebook group, if they contact me, there's links on my website for all my different social media groups. There's numerous ways to do it, and I'll even throw out my telephone number there if somebody wants to get in touch with me. 904-874-0179. Just be aware you may have to leave a message, because I get so many spam calls that I may not answer the first time. And if you leave a message, I'll call you right back.
Cool. Okay, so here's the big one. This is what Global Focus today is all about. What is your vision for the future of spirit education?
Wow. That's a tough one. During when COVID hit, what I did was I put all of my personal resources into helping and teaching ministers how to go online and for education. I started doing Zoom classes on how to use Zoom, how to teach online, because it is a very different animal than teaching in person. And I did a lot of one-on-one work and just hands-on work with ministers by turning over controls in Zoom to them so they could play while we have a dozen people in the class and set up breakout groups and do whatever they might want to do, might want to learn to do, but they didn't have a chance to before. So my vision at this point in time, my personal vision, my practitioners to continue with teaching and promoting their spiritual living circles and their classes. I've moved away from my tech talks and a little bit, and there hasn't been a lot of interest shown in going forward with that. So I'm at this point in time just trying to figure out what I want to teach now. My intention is to move into a more contemplative side, more into meditation and into study of the mystics. My apostolic Catholic priest practitioner has her Sophia ministry, which she's also a dean at the Living School, Richard Rohr's Living School. She wants to teach more mystical courses, Christian mystical courses, and I'm very much supporting her in doing that. She's done it in the past, and I think I'd like to involve myself with her in teaching, getting into teaching those mystics, of people about the mystics, because the mystics really are the heart of religion. They are the ones that brought us to God. Took out the intermediary and taught us that there's something more. There's a more personal connection. We don't have to go through. We don't need an intermediary to recognize the divine in us. So, yeah.
Ooh, that sounds good to me. I love the mystics. So, here's another question for you. How does your ministry support or expand conscious evolution, like personal hobby horse?
I think anytime you talk with someone, the spiritual living circle. Most of the people in the spiritual living circle are newcomers to Science of Mind.
Back up and tell us what a spiritual living circle is.
Okay, spiritual living circle is a non-paying entity developed by CSL to be able to, it's something short of being a study group, which has a annual fee, but this allows you to gather people together and join, and either in person or online, and teach science of mind or have discussions about God, religion, spiritual philosophy, psychology, whatever you want to do, but keeping it spiritual. And the home office encourages anyone who's interested. There's a place to access it online on the web CSL website.org website, where you can go and sign up to start a spiritual living circle without having to have had any prior experience in science of mind, but just a desire to learn more about the spiritual philosophy.
So anybody could start a spiritual living circle.
Absolutely.
They don't have to be a practitioner or a minister, just an ordinary, human being could do that.
Even a human being can do that.
I like it.
Or a being human. So where were we?
How does that support or expand conscious English?
I mean, Jack and Rita, my two practitioners, get together twice a month, and we read from the Science of Mind textbook. And we're all the way up to, after about 2 years, we're all the way up to, I think, page 200 or thereabouts. And it's wonderful. We never get more than a couple of paragraphs read before there's a discussion. So, we get about 2 pages a week done, discussed. And it gives these new people, new people to Science of Mind, a chance to learn. My mouth was tripping over its tongue. Gives them a chance to have greater understanding of the teaching, because with 2 practitioners and a minister in the group, at least, then we can sit and have really, really good discussions and answer all their questions. And we have usually anywhere from 8 to 15 people in the group.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So that all of the classes that we teach, that whether they're certificated or non-certificated, they're all based in Science of Mind and or philosophies that parallel Science of Mind, mostly mystical. So yeah, we advance the evolution of spirituality that way too. So we do everything we can. I mean, that's what we do. That's what we're here to do.
Good. And I happen to know, because I've been attending it for the past 3.5 years, that you do a world peace meditation every Sunday evening.
Every Sunday evening.
And I'd like to know how you got to the place of doing a world peace meditation every Sunday evening, and what other things you do that contribute to world peace.
In about 2003, when I was dragged kicking and screaming into the local center. I love to use that term. It's not true. I did enjoy my quiet time on Sundays, and my ex-wife wanted spirituality in her life, so she found this, and I promoted her doing it. And when the first time I walked through the door, I knew I'd come home. I had never felt broken. My religious experience, my Christian religious experience prior to Science of Mind was very vanilla. I was a Congregationalist with Lutheran undertones, and I went to a Lutheran school for 2 years, parochial school, and then was a Congregationalist most of my life, although I can't say I practiced much of it after age 21, except that I tried to be a good person and and help people everywhere I went, which I think is the basis for all religion. If it isn't, it should be. So, but that's my opinion.
Well, that's pretty good, I'd say. So,
I don't think I answered that question fully. What was it? Give me the question again.
How in addition to a Sunday night meditation, does your ministry promote world peace?
Oh, yeah. So I sort of got off track with the 2003 center thing, just a little bit. And I started. My focus has always been peace. So I started. It was just before Christmas that I went into the center for the first time, and they were promoting the World Healing Meditation. And I asked to be a part of it. And the minister, Reverend Elizabeth Clare, she said, "Sure, I'd love to have you become a part of it." And so within two years, she turned it over to my wife and I, and we did the World Healing Meditation. Thank God it was at 7 o'clock in the morning.
A little earlier here.
A little bit, and even worse on the West Coast. But I really enjoyed doing that, so I started doing a peace meditation at the center there that many years ago. And that was the focus of my practitioner, whatever life when I was at the center, was promoting peace and doing the peace meditation. Every Wednesday night I had a peace meditation at the center, and it was fairly well attended every week for 4 or 5 years until I went into ministerial training and spent more time on the road going down to Fort Lauderdale ministerial training than I did at the center, and I built a peace pole for the center. Having been a carpenter, I got my hands on a 6x6 red cedar pole, about 10 feet long, and we chamfered the edges and put a little pointy top on it, and got together with four of our artists at the center, and they each painted "Let There Be Peace on Earth" in different languages on the 4 sides of the post. I believe we used English, Spanish, Arabic, and French as the 4 languages. And because St. Augustine is the home to the School for the Deaf and Blind in Florida, I also did it in Braille with on the side of the post, a little stainless steel dot. So so that, and every year I would petition the St. Augustine City Council to proclaim September 21st as World Peace Day. I would go to the City Council a month before, and we would make a proclamation for World Peace Day at the in Center of St. Augustine. So yeah, that's been my focus forever.
That's pretty cool. So this is just prurient curiosity, but tell me, what's your favorite thing you ever did as a minister?
Wow. I'd have to say, one-on-one, I'd have to say it was driving to Poughkeepsie, New York, and sitting down with this wonderful woman, Barbara. Oh gosh, Barbara, what's your last name? Gosh, I have to apologize. I forgot her last name. And spent about a month and a half with her in Poughkeepsie. I was in my RV, and we would meet at Borders Books, which no longer exists, and we'd talk about the science of mind, because she had been a Baptist, but she wanted to know about science of mind, and she had heard a lot about it, and we studied science of mind for about a month and a half.
Oh, wow.
And that was just a wonderful experience for me.
So the follow-up, of course, is if you had to pick one thing that Ernest Holmes said that was the most important to you, to your ministry, to the world, what would it be?
I go back to basics. Change your thinking, change your life. You know, without changing your thinking, you can't make a change in your life. You know, you have to let go of the past. You have to let go of anything that's bothering you. And as we all know, forgiveness takes a lot of that. And the courses that Michelle teaches with me, Reverend Michelle Watley teaches with me, forgiveness and the shadow work are two of the basic things most basic and most important things to help anyone change their life. Because until you forgive yourself and let go of the past, let go of those past things that are just fumbling around in your mind, creating chaos when you least expect it, it's hard to move forward in any way.
Cool. Okay, so one more.
Sure.
Suppose that you needed to illustrate Holmes's concept of the golden thread. Who are two people in current times, two contemporary folks that you would turn to illustrate that? And why?
Define for me golden thread.
The golden thread of truth that runs through all faith traditions. The reason interfaith is the only faith.
Who would I choose? Present day.
They don't have to still be alive, but you know, like
good.
in the current era, you know, the last
2,000 years?
No, 100. Narrow it a little. 100 years.
I was going to go with Jesus of Nazareth, but love your neighbor as yourself and revere that God which lives within you always. I don't know who I'd pick. There's so many good teachers.
Well, suppose you're looking to make a list of quotes, one a week for the next year. Who would you start with?
I don't know. I like Joel Goldsmith, but I can't give you a real quick quote from Joel.
Okay, I just asked for a name. And why Joel Goldsmith?
He's so clear. He's so unbelievably focused on knowing what our place in the cosmos is.
And you mentioned your motorhome. I'm wondering if you were, headed off into, say, the Gobi Desert in your motorhome, and you could only take 3 books. I'm figuring one of them is going to be Science of Mind. What are the other 2?
One of them would be Joel Goldsmith's either Mystical Eye or I can't look behind me because I got my green screen down. One of them would be Joel Goldsmith. I'll go with the Mystical Eye, and gosh, the other might be H.B. Jeffries. I forget the name of it. It's the one we recommend for practitioners. Or there's a requirement for practitioner training. Anyways, yeah, those would be the 2. Why?
Why?
for both of them, I think because their focus on bringing us back to our oneness is so clear and so discernible. I mean, there's no wavering of truth in either of their studies.
Well, we need to take a little thank you break, but I'm going to ask you another question you can think about during the break, so you'll be ready to answer it when we come back.
Yeah, maybe.
And that is, how did the personalities, the avatars of spirituality affect your path to focus ministry? Don't answer yet. You can just think about it, and we're going to take a little thank you break.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.
That was nice, wasn't it? I like dancing music. So let me ask the question again. How did, or do, I guess I should say, the folks you consider to be the avatars of spirituality mold and shape your focus ministry?
That's a toughie. I think I have to get back to Jesus first, because I've always tried to follow his commandments. Love my neighbor as myself, and to have no other gods before the big guy up there, or up there, in here, around us, everywhere.
Okay.
And I mean, that's the gist of it. He promoted peace. I mean, he promoted love, and that's the basics of all religions. I mean, whether it's the Muslim religion, the Hebrew religion, the Buddhist religion, it's all about love.
That's true.
And I remember David Leonard, Reverend David Leonard from Alabama, speaking at our center one day here in St. Augustine, and he mentioned that he was with Kennedy Schultz when he passed, or near his passing, call it on his transitional bed. And Kennedy Schultz told him that if there was anything he had regretted in his whole life, it was not putting more emphasis on the law rather than love.
And
As
it's
we
so
know,
too.
the basis of our spirituality is love and law. So
That's right. That's right. Cool. Okay. So here's where we get a little sticky.
uh-oh.
I'm going to ask you what advice you would give to a ministerial student who's thinking maybe brick and mortar is not the path for them. And why?
Okay. If you want to move in a different direction than brick and mortar, and I think ultimately from everything we see in the pew-folds and everything else, church is moving away from brick and mortar and moving away from church. But to move into focus ministry, there's so much that it offers. We know that we know that we are creators. We know as students of the science of mind that we are creators. And I would say to someone, if you're interested in focus ministry, take your creativity, find a niche for it, and figure out a way to make it work. There are plenty of focus ministers. We have, I don't know, somewhere between 40 and 50 focus ministers right now in this organization. It's unknown what any of them do, but there are 40 to 50 of them in the organization, and you can find one or two or five. You got my email address. When I was the lead for Focus Ministry Leadership Group, that was what I took on as my duty, was to help people who are interested in being focus ministers to develop that focus to a degree that it would help, that it would be a viable ministry for them. And I think I've always tried to do that, and I'm available to anyone at any time within reason. After 9 o'clock at night, there's got a snowball's chance to get in touch with me, but that's Eastern time, of course. But I'm available always to help anyone try and develop a sense of what they might want to do and how to do it. One thing I will say about my own focus ministry is I developed it initially without having an intention to necessarily make money for myself, but to make sure that anyone that worked with me, that taught for me, that got paid well, and that my ministerial bills were paid. I wish now I had maybe done a little bit more searching for people that would be willing to fund my ministry, because it's always been a little lean. I've never taken a paycheck. I don't need to take a paycheck. I have Social Security. I don't feel pigeonholed by that at all. But it would be nice to be able to find new avenues of expansion for my ministry, and that is a little bit tight right now.
So what kind of new avenues for expansion would you envision?
If I was a self-promoter, I would promote doing different things to raise money, different funding events. I haven't figured out what that is online yet, but it would be nice to be able to have a better cash flow than I have right now. But I don't let that bother me, and I've got money in the bank. The first 10 years of my focus ministry was funded by me completely, 100%. When I worked with Robert Brzezinski and Nicole Merges and Gloria Diamond Conley, all reverends, of course, and in the original focus ministry, AHA Education, it was wonderful, but I had no expectations of making a living at it. Ministry was more of a calling than it was it was more of an avocation than a vocation. I shouldn't say it that way because it is a vocation for me, but it's a love. Since I left banking in 1978, I haven't done anything I didn't want to do. Everything I did was of my own making, and it was everything was developed out of a love of what I was doing in the moment.
So basically, the advice is find something you absolutely love to do and find a way to make it spiritual.
Right.
And then share it.
It's all spiritual.
I will tell you that there are not between 40 and 50, but actually that I know of, 57 CSL Focus Ministers. That doesn't count the ones across New Thought who are not CSL affiliated. And about 2/3 of them have descriptions and contact information on the Spirit Online Directory's Focus Ministry page.
I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah.
And you are a great source for online courses that are being taught around the country too by other CSL centers and ministries. And anyone that's teaching one, get in touch with Rev Sharri, and she'll pop your class up onto her courses page.
Cool. Well, thanks. I wasn't looking for a bid, but I mean a ad, but it just slipped out.
I know.
So we have a few minutes left, and I'd like to ask. You just said a little bit of what you would do differently, but if you could change the structure of spirituality and spiritual practice in the United States right now, what would you do? What would you change?
I don't think that's really my place. I think God is different for everyone. You know, so God is a very personal part of us. God is a very personal interior part of us. It's our heart center. I think it's different for everyone. Would I change anything? The only thing I might wish is that more people were open to going into their heart and finding out what's right for them.
Okay.
Not what somebody else tells them.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. So, suppose you had a wish list for your ministry. What would be on it? Sky's the limit. God's the supply. If you could have anything you wanted for your ministry, what would you wish for?
I don't think I really wish for anything except maybe better cash flow.
Okay.
You know, we can teach as many courses as we want, and I think it's in the teaching and being able to help people that it's in the vein of helping people that I formed my ministry. And whether it's one person at a time or small groups or large groups, it makes no difference to me, because even if only one person gets it in a group, that's one step closer to the whole world getting it.
So what's the most satisfying class you ever taught?
That would be a toss-up between The Grace in Aging, which is a book by Kathleen Dowling Singh, and my brain just went dead. And I'm looking at my list now. Shoot. I forget what the other one is. It was just in my mind when you asked the question and left me when I said The Grace in Aging. Rumi, the mystical Rumi. I did a six or 7 week course on Rumi, and it was mostly meditation and reading from other Sufi texts about Rumi, and just studying the time he was in and the dance, the dervishes, and the whole of it. The fun thing about the Rumi course is just before I started teaching it, there was a series that came up in, I believe it's in Amazon Prime, called Yusuf Emery, and it was all about a Sufi mystic by the name of Yusuf Emery, who was a mystic, was a Sufi around the same time as Rumi, and it was a great study in the setting in the series and everything was just phenomenal. Everything about it just seemed so real that it was just a great adjunct to the Rumi course.
Oh, I love Rumi too. So tell me, what was the most satisfying class you ever took?
I don't know. Probably Foundations, because it taught me the science of mind, what it was all about, and where it came from, and who the people were in the teaching. It was my introduction. So yeah, it was my beginning, if you will.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like to talk about?
Not much really. We have as you well know, being part of the Peace Committee in CSL, we have the United Nations World Day of Peace coming up on the 21st of September. I'm doing a half-hour meditation at, I think it's noontime or 11 a.m., something like that.
Well, then you need to send me an ad because I have the page.
Well, you've already got the ad, I think.
Is it in there?
I created it for you.
Okay.
So it must be on your page. And I don't know, world healing meditation on the 31st of December. You know, those are my biggies. I've been doing the world healing meditation since 2000. I
actually discovered the world healing meditation in 1993.
Wow. Yeah. I'd never heard about it before I went to the center.
No, I hadn't heard of it. It's a new thought thing, that's for sure. Well,
for sure.
Thank you for agreeing to be my premier guest and for sharing your consciousness and your journey.
been fun. And I'm really happy that Robert has put this together, because it's really worked out well. It's really worked out well, and I think he's doing a great service for spiritual community. Thank you,
New
Robert.
Thought Media Network is amazing. There is a slate of let me see if I can find it and put it up. There's a slate of programs that stretches across the whole week, and everything from entertainment and teaching to, here we go, look at this. There are 5 churches that live stream their services to New Thought Media every Sunday. There are discussion classes, there are entertainment programs, there's morning prayer and evening prayer at 8:15 a.m. and p.m. On Wednesdays, there's a midweek meditation at 7 a.m. Central Time. No, Mountain Time, I think it is. There's just a tremendous amount available, and it's all from Reverend Robert's inspiration and guidance. So,
and I don't see a thing on that schedule that allows Robert to breathe.
Oh no.
It says take a breath.
Yeah. So, oh, thank you. We got a comment on Facebook. How cool is that?
Thank you, Gina.
Yeah. Thank you, Gina. Thank you to everyone else who's joined us, and we hope you'll come again next week. We have a different visitor next week. His name is Rick Moss, PhD, and he's going to be talking about a ministry of inner child work. So join us and don't miss out, because there's going to be something new and different and exciting every single week. And it won't be the same without you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Sherry. Thank you, Robert, for doing this.
And
amazing, you will do amazing